Hey there. Thank you for being part of the podcast Patreon and welcome to another bonus episode. This is a casual catching up with me and Amanda. We are going to talk about her new apartment, the fact that it's time to cull the wardrobe. Is that true for you too? What our life would have been like if we'd had supportive parents. And we talk about college applications because I am still waiting to hear where my older child has been accepted. Oh, the nervousness. We also talk about gender nonconformity and fluidity. And of course, we have some pop culture and television recommendations. Thank you again for being part of the Patreon. It is really fun to make these bonus episodes, and I hope you enjoy them. How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. I'm good. I have 2 more weeks with the bad teacher at MIT.
Yeah.
And so I'm counting down the days. He was really pushing my buttons. But yeah, light at the end of the tunnel. 2 more weeks dealing with this terrible human.
Why is there always one terrible human per department? You ever notice that?
I feel like academia lends itself to a lot of overinflated egos.
There's a lot of terrible personalities that park themselves permanently in academia. I've met them. They suck.
Yeah, and it's like everyone knows. Like I met this wonderful woman yesterday at the lab who I've exchanged emails with.
Right.
But never met face to face. And I finally met her face to face and we were like eating lunch together. She's very nice. She's like, oh, you're with so-and-so, right? I was like, yeah. And she's like, is he still? I'm like, yep, he is still.
The worst.
Yeah. So like everyone knows.
That's awful.
I think I'm his 7th or 8th admin in 3 years.
Jesus Christ. That's ridiculous.
I know. But after that, I'm full-time in the director's office and everyone there is lovely. So I also had to give a tour to 5th graders yesterday, which was certainly something.
Ooh, did they ask good questions?
They asked 5th grader questions.
Right.
Like, they didn't really care about the research. They were interested in, so the lab is comprised of 2 buildings that are essentially fused together.
Right.
And where they connect are buttons that if you push, a big metal gate comes down to separate the labs in case there's a fire.
Yeah, of course.
To, like, restrict yeah. And of course, the kids wanted to know about that. And one of them is like, if I press the button now, will it sense that I'm under here or will I be crushed to death?
Oh my gosh.
That was the questions I received. Nothing really about research.
Nah, 5th graders just want to know about explosions, fire, and crushing.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, but we're not going to test it. So they also did not love how many staircases we had to walk up and down.
I can relate. So what's new with you?
New living space.
Yay! How do you like the apartment?
It's huge. So a lot of space. It's nice to have my own like office space, not near my bedroom.
Yes, I like that part of my house too.
Yeah, definitely not fully unpacked. We're working on packing up my stuff. So last weekend at my apartment, we went through like all of my clothing, donated about 11 bags of like clothing and shoes and stuff like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, so all of Brian's stuff is here. It's just a lot of space and I'm excited to put it together. But God, it's different than my other living conditions where it's like I work 2 feet from my bed and, I have to ask my roommate if I can take a bath because, we're both home all the time. Now we have 2 bathrooms.
Whoa.
So, well, I know.
I also have to go through my closet and my clothing because like I have a whole set of clothing that is for conferences and I'm never going to wear it again.
Yeah.
And when I spoke at my kids' career day 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, well, I could roll in what I work in. I could wear my work uniform, which is sweats and a hoodie. But, I wanted to show respect with my clothing and, and of course, the teacher whose room I was in, he was in sneakers, sweats, and a hoodie, but he's the teacher. That's his classroom.
Yeah.
Of course,
I found shirts from like high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like my class of 2007 shirt. I'm like, I don't need to keep this.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't.
I have heels and I'm like, I'm not going to wear heels. I don't want to. It's uncomfortable. And like, there are clothes that I used to be able to tolerate, like the texture, the tightness. And now I'm just like, nope. Nope. I have been in comfy clothes for 3 years and I'm going to, so I'm one of my projects this coming this spring is I'm going to start weeding out all of the clothes that I'm just not going to wear anymore. It's a nice feeling though, right?
It was a little overwhelming, a little sad too. Like, oh, I've been looking for this for like, or it's like, oh yeah, that's where that shirt went. And I'm like, I didn't wear it for like 3 years, but I'm like, do I want to keep it? And it's like, if you didn't even realize it was tucked into a drawer for 3 years, you don't need to keep it.
No, if you haven't missed it, you
So
can let it go.
yeah, it was a little freeing, but also a little like anxiety inducing of like, wow, look at all this stuff that I'm giving away that I spent money on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that feeling too. And then I always have the feeling like, but should I sell this? Should I try to list it in consignment? Like, I don't want to make extra work for myself. I will just donate
That's
it
how
to a
I feel
place.
about my Peloton, because Brian has a Peloton and we don't need two,
Right.
obviously. So we're gonna get rid of mine. We're trying to like get one of our friends to buy it for cheap so we don't have to deal with Facebook Marketplace or
Oh
anything.
God. Yeah. Facebook
But
Marketplace.
but so far we've had no takers, or like, that we probably are gonna have to do that. Yeah, not looking forward to that.
And it's hard to get rid of something that like you invested in that you don't need two of, right? Like you can log
Yeah,
in
you
on
just
his
don't.
equipment. You just don't need two unless you plan on like
No.
racing or something. Unless you plan on doing classes at the same time.
No. We tried to do that when we had our separate Pelotons, and for some reason there would always be like a tech glitch and we could never get into like the same class at the same time. I'm like,
Yep.
what the
I am in a really weird place. I am in the last 3 months of having two high school students. It is the last quarter. All of the schools that my son auditioned for, they should be yielding decisions around April 1st.
Oh,
So
that's soon.
yeah. And it's weird because, so do you know how easy it is to apply for college now? Like there's
No.
this common, this blows my mind because I wrote shit out by hand, right? This is back in the 1900s. I had a pen and lots of paper. There's a common application and you fill
Oh,
in the common application, you
and then just
answer
send
the
it.
essay questions, and then you just check off the schools that you want to apply to, pay their application fee, and
Oh
bam.
my God.
Like some of them have an extra essay, but that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just, you do it once. And I'm like, okay, first of all, not fair. Second of all, do you know how tired I was handwriting my friggin' essays? This was before like word processors. I didn't get a word processor till I was like a
I hate those essays. I
college
really
sophomore.
do. Like, I don't understand the point of
Well,
doing an essay.
some of them were really easy, like get to know us questions. My son wrote a really great essay about GeoGuessr and being addicted to GeoGuessr, and then connected it to how he has always loved a taxonomy. He connected it to music. And I was like, this is a really good essay. He's like, thanks. So he did the one essay. A couple of the schools had extra essays before we even get into the audition requirements. And he's like, Mom, there's another essay. Like, what am I going to do with my music education to, like, if I become a musician, how am I going to give back to society? He's like, I mean, I'm going to play music. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, all right, I have an answer for you. I have an answer for you. I'm like, okay, do you remember when you were in elementary school and music was a set of instruments that lived in a closet and came to the classroom, and it was always the same instruments, and they would have to set the instruments up on the stage for like spring recital, and the classes would get up and then go back down because they didn't have enough, and they only had like these Montessori Orff
Yeah.
instruments, like they didn't have a program. Then they got a new teacher, 5th grade, when he was in 5th and my younger son was in 3rd. So when he was in 5th grade, the new teacher came and knew, because it was a new teacher, was very connected to different local music programs and brought in a whole brass program. And that's who introduced Alex to the trombone. And he had that for like 5 months before we moved here. We moved here, and in Montclair, the school district is just for Montclair. Like every piece of New Jersey is divided up into townships, and every township is its own school district. In Maryland, it's the whole friggin' county. So we have like 130 plus thousand students in the school district. But like, when I tell you all the schools have central air conditioning and how impressed I am, I can't even tell you. Like every school has central air. That alone was mind blowing because the schools in Jersey did not. And one year we were in school until the 28th or 30th of June. It was hot. And like they didn't even turn the lights on.
One of our gyms, the old gym on campus for middle school, high school, it was the same building for us, did
Yeah.
not have AC.
In Florida.
In Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was for middle schoolers. The high schoolers got the new gym with the AC.
With the AC. And you kind of look back on yourself at that age, like, how did I survive that? How did I do gym in middle school with no AC in Florida? Like, what? So not only do they have like central air and an art room and kilns and like funded art program, but they have one of the best music programs in the country. They have jazz bands for middle schoolers. They have a full orchestra, brass, symphonic. Like they have a massive music program in the schools here. And he wouldn't be doing what he was doing if we hadn't moved. There was no similar program in New Jersey, and he would probably not have discovered how much he likes jazz. And I said, so the way in which you give back as a musician is to advocate for school arts funding wherever you are and do programs at school where you perform for students and show them music and talk about how you learned when you were 10. And that's how you give back. He's like, oh, that's a really good idea. I should have written that down. And I said, my guy, I turned on voice notes and I just talked that whole essay into a document for you. I will just send it to you and you can edit it. And he's like, Mom. I'm like, I know, greatest parent ever. And public school funding arts is always the first to go because that's what happened in Montclair. Yep. So he took that, my rambling, and he shaped his essay out of it and then added all of the things that he wanted to say about arts funding and going to public schools and having these great programs in our county and that everyone should have access to this level of music education. And I was like, good job, buddy.
We like our arts program, our art classes got cut when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, what do we do for like art credit? And they're like, oh, well, now we're classifying PE as art.
Okay, sure. Sure.
And typing classes.
Very art.
As art.
Much creative. Oh, God.
Yeah. And I'm like, I even went to the school board meeting.
Badass.
And spoke in favor of saving our pottery and ceramics classes. Obviously, didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think like maybe yearbook also counted as the art credit.
But right. Like, well, I mean, I can see that it is design, but still.
Yeah. But no, it was typing, PE.
Very artistic.
Because that's what an arts kid loves.
And very artistic and dancing during dodgeball. I completely
a ribbon dance. Do you remember the ribbon dancers that were?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So that was devastating. As someone who hates PE and loved an art class.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me?
And I said, this will always be an issue. Like there is no time when someone isn't cutting arts funding somewhere. And you can always use that as this is what I want to do. He's like, oh, but I want to do that anyway. That's a great idea. I'm like, you're welcome. But while all of the other people who have applied through the Common App and then didn't have a subsequent audition or portfolio part, they all know where they're going to school. And Alex is still waiting. And he's still waiting to find out where he's going.
That's exciting.
I'm very frustrated. I would like to know. I can't make any plans.
You got like a couple more weeks, right? In April.
You understand, Amanda, I need to plan things and I cannot plan things.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to go to camp this summer. So we got to figure out what to do with our humans during the summer. This is weird. I don't know. Like how do you do that? I have no idea. At some point we're going to know what school and then we're going to know the schedule and then we're going to have to figure out like move-in day and shopping for stuff. Like I need to make some plans and I cannot make the plans. It's very frustrating.
It is like a specific frustration of like, I can't do this thing until X thing has been decided.
Yes. And I don't want to rush. I mean, I just, take all the time you need, make the decisions you want. Let's go. And some of the schools have already gotten back to him. So he's in 3 schools. He got into Temple University's music program. He got into University of North Texas, and he got into UC Boulder in Colorado.
But none of those are his first choice, right?
They're not his first tier.
Yeah.
Like of all of them, he would, if he didn't get any anywhere else, it was just those. He would go to Temple because they were very impressed with his jazz knowledge, and they made it very clear that they were very impressed with his audition while he was doing it. And he really liked all of the teachers who were part of that audition, and they talked about like jazz charts and artists and people he knew of, and they had a really common language. The way this happens in music schools is there's lessons. So he's now setting up lessons with different college professors all over the country at these schools. And I'm just like, this is wild. I never did any of this.
I didn't either. I mean, like I was a pretty smart kid. And when I was in Florida, they had, I think it's called the Bright Futures program.
Yeah.
you would meet all these criteria, and then depending on which criteria you met, it would translate to a percentage covered, and you could get your full tuition covered if you
nice.
met these test scores, if you did community service hours, blah 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 blah, and if you attended an in-state university or college institution, they would cover 100% of it. So I got the 100% Bright Futures scholarship, but I think they don't even do that anymore. I
Fuck
don't think
yeah.
they will fully cover it.
Nice.
I volunteered for a few summers at like a local veterans hospital. Like it was a pretty like rigorous application, I feel like, for this.
That's impressive though.
Yeah. And then I wanted to go somewhere else, and my mom threw a hissy fit. So
Yeah, I got 0 parental support applying for college, and I ended up applying to schools that were all, except for one, they were all a bit of a reach for me grade wise. And I didn't get in to the schools I thought I wanted to go to. I didn't have enough of a wide, I think I only applied to like 4 places. I got into the University of Arizona in Tucson, but then they didn't have housing for me. And my family was like, oh, well, no, you're not living in an apartment by yourself at age 18 in Tucson. So I ended up at the women's college that I ended up graduating from. And I really thought I would transfer because no one had heard of the school. It was a women's college. I was the only Yankee. What was I doing there? I'll just go there and transfer. And it ended up being like a very ideal place for me because it was small. I was still the weird Yankee, or the Yankee who was weird. I think the weird and the Yankee part were 2 separate concepts. I was both weird and a Yankee. And I ended up where I needed to be. But like going through this with my kids, I have really tried to walk the line between I want to be supportive and I want to help you, and we're going to have a strategy and we're going to talk about this. Like we had spreadsheets, we had meetings. Like, what do you need to do? What do we need to do? Where are you applying? Where do you want to go? Here are some schools we found. Are you interested? Like we were very involved, but also let him do everything that he wanted to do on his own. And now he's addicted to spreadsheets as organizing tools. Like he has a spreadsheet for pros and cons. I might take this out. I'll ask his permission, but my younger child is gender nonconforming and has been struggling to figure out how to present themselves. And so I found a workbook. It's called Gender Quest. I'm so excited about a book called Gender Quest. Like, I can't wait to look at this. I am so excited about this. Gender Quest.
one thing that I've learned, because Brian is non-binary and uses he, they pronouns.
Yeah, that's what my younger child does.
Yeah, and they present as a man. If we're out in public, that's usually how they present in public. But there's that saying of like non-binary people don't owe you androgyny.
Yes.
They don't owe you
very true
to be the middle. Brian and I will have check-ins, little gender check-ins is what I call them, of like, how are we feeling about pronouns? Because when we first started dating, they preferred, I don't know, to do a percentage, like, 70-30 split, use he as opposed to they. But now, like, they feel more 50-50. So I just try to, like, switch it up and check and see. And then
we do the same thing. That's really interesting. If I'm filling out a form, I keep filling out all these forms about how I'm a responsible adult. It's so fucked up. Responsible adult. Oh, Christ, that's me. But when I fill out a form, I'm like, all right, pronoun check. And I have to say, the number of forms that I fill out for things related to my children that offer options, like there's often a male, female assigned at birth, gender identity, preferred pronouns. Do you have an alternate name? And actually, Montgomery County in Maryland was in the news a little while ago because the school system has a policy where if a student changes their gender identity, their pronouns, or their name in school and tells their teachers, the teachers cannot communicate that information to the parents without the student's permission. Designed to keep the safe space of school as a space for the student. And a couple of parents sued and were like, you have to give us all the information about our child. And the school district won and was like, nope, we don't. So there's a lot more identity and presentation and how do you want to be known in school that isn't in any of my forms. So like I see a lot. They see so much more.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, I feel like, with Brian, depending on how they're feeling, like they might grow their facial hair out, or they might like shave their legs and shave their face, like depending if they're feeling more feminine. So it definitely, it's fluid. They're gender fluid. Sometimes they skew more feminine, sometimes they skew more masculine. It varies day to day, it varies season to season.
Yeah.
Laziness too. Like anyone who does any sort of like upkeep with their body knows
Oh my
that
God.
like sometimes you just don't want to shave, and that's just going to be your life for a few weeks because you're over it.
TMI, I don't think I have shaved my legs since last August. When it gets cold, I just stop. I don't care. And it's in the winter, it's like an extra layer. But my God, is it long? Holy cow. I could probably braid it. It's ridiculous.
I'm a slut for baths, so I take a lot of them. I take a lot of baths, so I might not shave my legs every single time I'm in it, but usually like it's part of my routine.
Yeah.
Maybe like every 2 or 3 baths I take, I'll be like, all right, I should probably shave my legs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just get waxed all the time. I get my brows waxed. It's easy to just be like,
I feel like I'm overdue for a brow wax.
I love getting my brows waxed. It's
feel
like
a
such
new person.
Right.
Afterwards.
I feel like I look in the mirror. I'm like, oh, it's like after I get a haircut. Oh, I look like me. Okay, good.
I love it. I love getting my eyebrows waxed. It doesn't like hurt that bad. I find it very like soothing to get it done.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they do like the eyebrow massage with like the afterwards.
Yes. The place that I go to is called Waxing with Aggie, and she's had her own waxing salon, and now she's started training people. So she has a whole salon with other people that she's trained. One of her techniques is to take a highlighter pencil in a shade that's different from my skin shade, and to draw where they're going to wax, so that like they'll say, okay, is this shape okay? Is this too much? Is this too little? So I'll see where they're waxing, and then they put the wax on top of the makeup and pull it right off. It's so great because they're like, is this good? Like I prove it beforehand. There's never that moment of, did you just give me 90s like pencil eyebrows? Do I look like a 1993 rom-com person now?
I have very thick eyebrows
Me
in
too.
general.
Me too.
And I just let them kind of like shape it. I'm like, I don't want too much like taken out. I just want it kind of more of a defined shape in the brows that I have. And they're usually pretty good. They like moved to a bigger space and I think are offering like pedicures and stuff now too. But yeah, I've been going there for years at this point, and sometimes it's hard to get an appointment, so I have like a backup like waxing place that I use if I'm like in a dire need and they don't have like an opening.
Oh yeah.
But I think April is my next time.
Waxing with Aggie got so popular that you pay a deposit to hold your space, and like I make my appointment before I leave so I don't miss.
Yeah,
like,
I do that too.
It's like going to the dentist. Like if I want to have an appointment in 6 weeks, I need to make it now.
I can't, like, I feel like the last couple times I've gone, the person before me is always late. And I'm like, come on, people. Like, be on time. Be on time.
No. I love a harsh late policy. It's terrible of me, but I do love a harsh late policy.
Yeah, because, like, especially with places like that, it's just like a domino effect.
Oh,
because
absolutely. If you're late, you're late.
Late.
Everyone else is late.
Then my thing starts late. Then the next person thing starts late. Like, speaking of appointments, I am bereft because the stylist that I've been going to for my hair has recently moved salons. And now the salon that they're in is in like Western Mass, which like you can't get to by public transportation. So
you mean like they went to Worcester?
No, not Worcester. I don't remember where it's
like clear across the state over towards New York.
No, like, so if they live in one place, they were working at 2 salons, each like 30 minutes in different directions.
Right.
And now they're focusing more on the other salon.
On the other one, which you can't get to.
Yeah. So I'm like, Brian, they have availabilities on Saturdays. Would you be willing to drive me out there on a Saturday so I can get my hair cut and I don't have to find a new person to go to? And of course, Brian's like, yeah, sure, I don't care. But like when you have difficult hair,
oh no, you follow the stylist.
Someone who can work with it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was so
I'm so
devastated.
sorry. That is the worst. Like when I left New Jersey, I was so sad that I was leaving my salon because the woman who cut my hair always did such a great job. I was just like devastated to have to leave that person because they're so good.
Yeah, I've never had a bad haircut from this person. But however, I've tried other stylists at that salon. And like one of them forgot to give me bangs, and I wound up giving myself bangs with a pair of kitchen scissors when I got home. It was fine. It turned out fine, but like not what I was there for.
Not what you were there for. No.
Yeah. So
That's awful.
I know. So I'm gonna have to follow them probably and spend a Saturday going out there to get my hair cut.
You can make a day out of it though.
Yeah, that's true. I could. But yeah, I was really bummed out.
That's like, no, that's terrible. Like there should be greeting cards for that. I'm so sorry. You're like, seriously, it's like, when you have a friendship end and you don't necessarily know how to handle it. Cause there's no, what did Melody call it? Melody. Oh, a social script. There's no social script for that. There should be greeting cards and like a whole line of products.
Sorry for the loss of your hairstyle.
Yes, I'm so sorry your stylist moved and this person is no longer cutting your hair. Like that's really hard.
Yeah.
People don't appreciate how hard it is.
No.
So I want to ask you what you're reading.
I'm not reading anything, but I've been doing a lot of watching of things.
Ooh, tell me a thing to recommend.
3 things I've been watching.
Okay.
So, one, Last of Us. Just wrapped up. We just had the finale. It's based on the video game, The Last of Us. Zombies. Pedro Pascal is in it. For the most part, follow the game pretty closely.
I've noticed that in the coverage.
I've noticed, I knew what was going to happen in a majority of cases.
Yeah.
Still found myself crying my eyeballs out.
Oh, yeah. It's like watching, if you're a Game of Thrones reader and then you watch the show in the first early seasons, like, what's going to happen. Still sucks when it does.
I was disappointed by the finale because even though I knew what was going to happen, I feel like the cinematography or whatever you want to call it lacked a lot of the emotional resonance that I felt in the previous episodes, even knowing what was going to happen.
Right.
So that's one thing. And that's done for now.
Right.
The next thing that we've been watching that is technically finished with season 1, but we have to catch up and watch the last 2 episodes is Poker Face.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's with Natasha Lyonne. I've talked about this on the Patreon Discord. It's just like kind of mystery of the week. Really good cast because Natasha Lyonne has been in entertainment forever.
Yeah.
I think executive producer might be Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, he directed the first one too.
Yeah, so it's like they're super well connected and I love seeing like what famous person is gonna be included. Like there was one episode with Tim Meadows and Judith Light.
Yeah. And that used to be like a thing. Like you would watch Matlock or Columbo or Murder, She Wrote was full of old Hollywood stars because Angela Lansbury would get them jobs so they kept their health insurance through SAG.
Yeah, so we've been enjoying that one. We haven't seen the finale or the previous one. So we're, I think, maybe going to finish it.
Awesome.
Now, the biggest thing, we're going to backtrack to high school Amanda, who used to be a very big anime watcher.
Right.
Go to anime conventions. I was obsessed with anime. And then I fell off the wagon for a long time.
Right.
And Brian's been watching anime. And it's a thing that he'll have on and I'll be half paying attention. And they were watching an anime called Hunter x Hunter. And it's about 2 12-year-old boys who have these like super buff magical abilities and they become hunters and blah, blah, blah. I came in on the 5th season and the 5th season is the longest season with 61 episodes. And we just finished it last night. We've been like burning through them. I was hungover last weekend and I just spent a full Sunday on the couch just watching anime. And in this story arc, these like ant bug people essentially want to eradicate humans and use them as a food source. And if they eat the hunters, then they become more powerful and can use like magical abilities.
Right.
And in that arc, the big bad bug man who wants to become king of the world, starts inviting like champion board game players to challenge him.
Oh.
He's like, I can learn this game in like 3 hours and I will beat the best players. And so he does, and when he beats them, he kills them essentially. Like, you know, they have no use to him. And so he meets this one woman, lives a sheltered life, is blind, and she's the championship like Goongi player. It's a made-up game for the show.
Right.
But championship player. And he has yet to beat her in the game. And he's like, oh my gosh, this human has given me like a reason to and so like now he rethinks his treatment of humans because of this board game player.
As you do.
But it's a very like tragic romance that happens between the two of them, and I found myself sobbing after we finished that story arc.
Aww.
I was like, this is so beautiful, but also weird. It's a weird show. The reason why I started watching it with Brian is because I would hear things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this sounds like a nasty, horny show. Like, what is this? This sounds disgusting.
I'm sorry, you're watching something disgusting and horny, and I'm not watching it too?
And I'm like, I thought this was a show about two preteens on an adventure. Why is everyone being gross? And then he just get like sucked into it. And so there's only 6 current seasons brought to America. I think they're working on a 7th one. Right. But yeah, so I was watching 3 different things at once, which is unlike me.
Wow.
I know. That's so not reading because everything's packed up usually. And yeah, I come home and we'll either play video games after dinner or we'll watch a bunch of TV with Linus curled up on the couch.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So that's the pop culture that has been filling my time.
That's fabulous. And that brings us to the end of this week's bonus episode. Come find us in the Discord or on patreon.com in the thread for this episode. Tell me, where are you going to donate your clothes when you cull out your wardrobe? What is your number one donate place? Do you have a consignment shop nearby? Is it worth it? And, send some good thoughts for us as we wait and wait and wait to hear, hopefully, good news. Thank you again for supporting the show. It means a lot to me, and I hope you have a great day.